Welcome everybody to CyberWise professional training course. This group is called A22, A for August, 22 for 2022. The A21 just graduated. You saw perhaps that I shared with you a recording of their graduation ceremony in the Slack channel if you'd like to see it. We had a really special guest. I'm going to mention him today in my presentation, who has become a wealthy man by his connection to cybersecurity. So it should happen to all of us. Okay, so I have a presentation. The first hour of class today is going to be an introduction and an overview of the course, our expectations of you, and what you can expect from us. And then in about an hour, I will introduce your instructor, Shimi, and he will be teaching the rest of the class about the meat of what we're here to learn about your computer and the internet and et cetera, et cetera. So let me share my screen. Okay, great. If anybody has any questions, feel free. It's hard to see the chat while you're sharing screen, so you're better off either raising your hand, you can raise your hand, or just shout out. We're informal. So if I have to, I'll mute everybody. Okay, so how did we get here? Who are we and what are we doing? Maybe I do need to mute everybody. I'm going to unshare. And I'm going to mute all. You can unmute yourself if you have something important to say, but it's important to have quiet. So. Let me go back. So SOMIT Careers, my wife and I founded SOMIT Careers in 2009. And some of this I gave over at the open house. I'm not going to go through all of it, and I have new things to share with you, so bear with me for a minute or two. We live in the Haredi community in Har Nof for many, many years. Baruch Hashem, we have children and grandchildren here, and we're committed to this beautiful lifestyle. But we see that it needs tweaking in the tiny issue of parnasa, of earning a living. That people who have graduated from yeshiva and spent many years learning, maybe in Koilel or whatever, and the women from Beis Yaakov. My wife works till this day as a career counselor. She takes private clients, and we provide career counseling to Touro College and some others. And it occurred to us that there weren't enough pathways, there weren't enough options. Like, we could tell a person what they're about and what they'd be good at, but it still came down to, well, you're either going to be roy cheshbon, you're going to be in accounting, or you're going to be in computer programming, or you're going to be in special education. And it's like, okay, but what if that's not what I want to do, or that's not what I'm cut out for? So we knew that we had to open more pathways because our community is, Baruch Hashem, growing. There's huge growth in our community, and so we have to find other ways. And the world is evolving, and frankly, in our favor. Okay. The world of the internet, okay, there's dangers of the internet, of course, and the filter is important, but the capacity to be able to connect, we have Los Angeles in the room with us today, as well as Baltimore and New York and Yerushalayim. So the whole world is here at our fingertips, and that allows us to earn a living in the international market. And my wife and I, we are citizens of the world. I'm from Cleveland. My wife is from Moscow. We spent a year together in Moscow. I was on the base team there. My wife was doing wonderful work in Kirov, etc. So we're sort of all over the place. We're doing different things, and we have very broad ideas of what needs to be done and how to help other people in a really big way, in a macro way. And so we found this opportunity in cybersecurity. It's not the only thing that we've opened training courses in, but it's not what we've been focusing on for the past 5 years, and with a lot of success. We have a lot of great people in the field who have been placed and are doing great. And it's a combination of matching people's insides to what's out there. And because we found that people didn't know what they had inside, and they didn't know what was out there. So they were missing, two key elements. So our community, of course, has a lot of expectations of, norms and, pretty thick culture. Some people are ready to work full time. Some people want to work part time, maybe learn part of the day, stuff like that. And finding out, what do you have inside? What are your skills? What are you interested in? What do you love doing? Because loving what you do and being in an environment which is conducive to your success are really key elements in predicting whether you'll be successful and how successful you'll be. Okay? If you're doing something that you could do it, but you don't love it, so you'll be a Benoni, right? You could be a middling. You could eke out a living, but you can't excel. You can't flourish. And there's no reason not to flourish. Find something that you love and find people who are willing to pay for it and put it together and do great. And so the people who are in this room today in this Zoom meeting have taken a logic test. They've shown their inclinations. Some of you we've talked to. Dvora Erlinger has been in contact with you. And so you're here because we think you should be here, and you have an opportunity to do something wonderful for yourself here. But it's a course that's you're not just like going to sit back and relax and watch. It's about growth and about growing into being a professional in this industry. So someone's sister-in-law is Goldschmidt. My wife just had a meeting with Rabbi Pinchas Goldschmidt, so that's your sister-in-law. Very nice, Akiva. Okay, so how did we get here? I explained how we got to. What do? We do training and we do placement. And placement is a key thing. It's not enough to just give people the skills. We want to help you get your first job and get into the field and stay with you even into your second and third job. Our value proposition is our deep understanding and a respect for individuals, for people. And we have very valuable connections to industry. I'm going to tell you about that a little more as we go. So it's about investing in people and then bringing them to the right place that they can do really well for themselves. And again, because we're 6 years into this, it really works. It might have been crazy idea, who says, and how do you know? But now we have tens of people that we've placed and that are doing really well, and it's changed their lives. So I have the utmost confidence that if you bring your top game, if you're ready to invest and to grow and to do the work, so we'll do our part, and together we can put you in a totally new place. I want to tell you about my own personal cyber experience. I have a master's degree in management from Boston University, and this is really important. I'm not technical, okay? I'm not a technical guy. Don't ask me technical questions, okay, ever, because I don't know the answer, and I don't want to know the answer. I'm not technical, but I did work in cybersecurity. I was working in finance and marketing, business development, those aspects of it. Citibank has a technology accelerator program in Tel Aviv, and I brought a young company who had biometric technology into the accelerator. And so I got to work in Citibank for 6 months, which was really fascinating and wonderful. I learned a real lot from that experience. And one of the great things was the people that I met there from other companies that were doing the same program. So there was another company called Sixgill. And Sixgill is a shark which lives at the bottom of the ocean where it's very dark. And they called their company Sixgill because they're in the dark web. And you'll learn in this course what the dark web is, but it's a place basically where you can be on the internet and nobody can find you. Nobody can trace where you're coming from. It's more than a VPN, than a virtual private network. There's something called the Tor browser. And so it was actually founded by the US Navy so that their spies in other countries could, use the internet without being found out by, maybe an antagonistic government. But today, the darknet is where all the crime takes place. That's where you buy weapons and every bad thing is going on in the darknet. And so for the banks and insurance companies and governments, they need to know what the bad guys are planning. And so Sixgill is on the dark web, listening in on the conversations and the social connections of the bad guys in the darknet in order to tell the good guys what to be careful from. And so I met these young entrepreneurs in Sixgill when there was just really two guys and an idea, and they were developing it. Since then, they've raised over $50 million. They have today over 100 workers. And recently, my buddy, Avi Kashtan, he sort of cashed out. He had an exit. They bought out, half of his piece for millions of dollars. Baruch Hashem, he did really well. This is where Sixgill was selected. It was one of the top 10 most innovative digital initiatives of the year by UNESCO. This is Avi. He's a Jew from Uruguay who moved to Israel, and he has 2 kids. His son is going to the army soon. Anyway, he's a lovely, lovely guy. We work together. And so I got to know a lot about the darknet and cybersecurity through my time in Cyber6Gill. And again, my wife and I already at that time were looking for opportunities. Where could we take the good brains of the Avrechim and of the Bnot Beit Yaakov, the women? These are people who are smart and ambitious and disciplined and ethical, and put them to work in a high salary range. And we're not talking about becoming a lawyer or a doctor. That's talking about investment of 4, 6, or 8 years at college. We're looking to turn your brains into money, if you will, after a training program of like 1 year. And so that's what we found, that cyber offers that opportunity. And so that's really how we got here. So this, I love this graphic of these people who I know and love, and have, again, their lives have changed really. And these are, you can see who these people are. They're, good Jews like you and me. Esther's a Beis Yaakov girl. She should get a good shidduch soon, Be'ezrat Hashem. But she's earning really well for AT&T, and she's doing great. Chana Krzyzanowski is sort of on our staff, and she's become a CISO, a Chief Information Security Officer. And I'm going to show you more pictures of her as we go. And these guys they're all smart, ambitious Jews who came to us, not much background in the field, and now they're doing really, really well. So it really works. Why cyber is a good fit for our community? There's some logic here. So it starts with demand. There is a huge shortage of talent in Israeli and international industry. And I will share with you some numbers and some more insight on that as we go. But that's the first thing you have to know. There's a big shortage. So they need hands on the keyboard. Skilled hands on keyboard are a huge commodity that is in demand. The barrier to entry is not a college degree or anything else. It's just brains. It's just knowing how to do stuff. It's like brains and skills. It's applied brains. It's learning how to do things. There's relatively high pay after, the short education, a year or two, like the first year of study, then maybe the second year of getting your first job at a, medium level, and then you can do really well. Because it's online, so there's flexible, including work from home possibilities. I'm not promising you that you'll always be able to work from home, but a lot of it is, looking at files online. And so a lot of companies will give you that flexibility, if not at the very beginning, but somewhere down the road. Okay, so I'm going on. I have this is a picture of my beautiful wife, Chana, speaking at University of Tel Aviv, which is like the bastion of secularism in Israel. They hold a cybersecurity conference, and my wife was honored to speak there. This is an Israeli cyber guru, Karen Elazari. We recently had an event at Palo Alto, which is an internationally leading cyber company. They have offices in Tel Aviv. They've hired 2 of our students who are doing really well there. And so they want to hire more. So they held an evening for us and gave us free food. So that was fun. Now this I put in Ness. Okay, Ness is a giant Israeli company, Ness Digital Technologies, whatever. They have over 20,000 employees. And about a month ago, we signed a contract with them. They're interested, again, in taking our young graduates and putting them to work, training them from square one, and then hiring them after a month or 2. So this is a hugely valuable opportunity to really begin a career in a great Israeli company that has offices throughout Israel, as well as other places in the world. And look at the headline here. The war in Ukraine intensifies the war for tech talent. And this has to do with that shortage that I mentioned. Because my wife's from Russia, we're very involved with Russians and Ukrainians, and the war there is very upsetting to us. And we've, Baruch Hashem, done some wonderful things for Olim Chadashim, new immigrants to Israel from the Ukraine and from Russia, giving them career guidance. And we made a Pesach program and a Shavuos program. And so we're into it. And a lot of them are really high-tech people. Israel outsources a lot of jobs to the Ukraine. And these Eastern Europeans, remember, the Soviet Union had a really good math and science education. That's how there was a space race between the US and the USSR. and the US, was a much better country. How come the Soviets were able to basically keep up with the Americans in the space race? They had a cosmonaut, right, orbit the Earth before we did. The answer is education. They put a real lot into math and science education. And so today there's a lot of those Russian heads in Israel and those values. And so although Haredi education obviously is not centered on math and science, but math and science are things you can catch up with. It's harder to catch up in English, but math and science you can catch up. So anyway, the fact that there's war in Ukraine and the fact that nobody wants to do business with Russia intensifies the international shortage of people in high tech, particularly in cyber. So this is like relevant to us because you guys are going to enter the field, and you'll enter obviously as juniors at entry level, but as you move up just a little bit, you become super valuable and really high demand because of this war for tech talent. Okay, so it's a really big thing. It's not, subtle or a secondary concern. It's a primary driver of the value of this course, is the fact that there's this huge international shortage of people who really understand how to work in cybersecurity. And that's what this course is going to give you. This is like incredible. A Haredi woman is like the voice of the White House regarding cybersecurity, right? This is from the White House's website. And it's a statement by the Deputy National Security Advisor for Cyber and Emerging Technology. Who is it? Hani Neuberger, okay? She's a Beis Yaakov woman. She now lives in Silver Spring. And this is Hannah Kay, who I showed you before. And she was invited to a roundtable discussion by the US Embassy in Israel to participate. Hani Neuberger wanted to meet Haredi women in high tech. So she got to meet her, and she took the selfie with her. This was just about a month ago in Tel Aviv. So, I mean, it's sort of unbelievable, but again, it sort of makes sense that these smart Jewish people, Haredim, are at the top of this field. And I have two more examples of them. Here is a Russian Haredi woman, a Baal Teshuva, she's Ger Chassid, Ola Sergachov, and she's on our team. This is me, and this is her at our Hanukkah party a year ago. So she's there as a mentor to our students. She's head of a company called Guardicore. She's leading their strategic advancement, whatever. And here's an Avrech from Haifa, okay? Google, ranked him as a world-class hacker. And like, he never went to high school, right? He didn't take math past 8th grade. So he's all self-taught. And this is a field, what's called autodidact, right? Of teaching yourself. You have to want to learn stuff and have to read about stuff and then try stuff and try again until you really get it. That's what this field is all about. And if you're good at that, then you could go really far. So today he has his own startup and he's doing really well. Yisrael Gort is his name. This is about your career. And your career, I'll skip to the chase, is like riding an off-road vehicle. Okay, there's no road. You just got to find a road and stay on your bike and not fall off. And if you do fall off, so dust yourself off and get back on again and keep riding. The world is complex. It's called VUCA, a VUCA world. It's volatile and it is complex and I forgot on what, but then it's ambiguous. And so the world is a really tricky place. And it's not obvious or straightforward exactly what to do. And I also can't tell you, but I can tell you that if you have valuable skills like cybersecurity, then you become really valuable and you're creating opportunities for yourself. So that's what we're about. I like to encourage people, and I found this, I went to a cybersecurity threat, it was called a Cyber Threat Intel Workshop in Washington, DC. It was pretty cool. And a lot of the people there were from the FBI, the CIA, or the military, or from law enforcement, and some worked for big companies. But 34% of the people in this field had no prior experience. Nobody was born knowing cybersecurity, right? So even these people who were in the military and whatever, but they also learned it. And in fact, some of our teachers are teachers who taught in the military. We had a number of teachers who, there's a unit, there's two great units in the Israeli army vis-a-vis this stuff. One is Unit 81, is a top secret unit. And another one is Shmone Matayim, Unit 8200. And so we have people from both those two units who were commanders, basically teachers of cyber to young, smart recruits in Sahel and teaching them how to be great hackers. Because, think about when Israel attacked, let's say, the Syrian reactor a number of years back. How come the Syrian anti-aircraft, didn't alert them or set off their anti-aircraft guns? And the answer is because the Israelis had already taken control of their system and had hacked into it. And so the system showed there was nothing going on. So the ability to hack into enemy systems is a key part of really today all warfare. And so being in Israel and having access to world leading hackers and educators in this field creates a lot of the value of this course and the opportunity in this field. I mentioned already about the shortage of human capital for security operations, and we're here to address that. And I want to sort of give a reassuring message that I don't think that everybody here is, necessarily the same personality type. There's different people who have different flavors, different inclinations. Again, we're career counselors. We're strong in psychology and understanding personalities. And if we divided them into 4 types, as some do, so the golds are people who like to keep the rules. You find them working in the bank, okay, or in an accounting office. And they're about rules and regulations and stuff like that, filling out paperwork. And there are opportunities for those kind of people in the field of cyber, because we're going to see that the market for cybersecurity services is driven by regulation. Because even if you don't care if you're going to get hacked, but the laws and the standards require you to live up to certain stuff. And so you need to be audited as a company by cyber auditors. So there are opportunities for graduates of this course to go into that branch of the business, which is called GRC. G for governance, R for risk, and C for control, I think, or corporate, whatever. So GRC is for those types of goals. There are people who are red, they love risk, they love extreme, they do bungee jumping, okay? And those are hackers, okay? And so if you're a hacker, we're gonna teach you how to be an ethical hacker. You'll be a pen tester, which means basically you test a company's website or network by trying to hack into it in the most creative way possible. So that's that fits a lot of people. Compliance, thank you for Shimmy. And the greens are people, we're greens. Greens are nice people, they're friendly people, they care about being nice to other people, and they're teachers. And so there's a place for teachers and educators. Let me say it like this, the largest attack surface really is still the human weaknesses, meaning you call the secretary of the company and you say, oh, I'm the IT guy, could you tell me again your password to get into the system? And you social engineer her, okay? You trick her by lying to her on the phone. So that type of attack using social engineering, where you're playing against people's, their tmimus, the fact that they're naive or that they're trusting and abusing that trust, that's still the largest pathway into penetrating a system. So educating people, training employees in hospitals, in law offices, in every business to be wary, to be on the lookout, to be really careful what they click on, what they open, what they share, to whom do they disclose information, etc., etc. That's a huge field and a growing part of the field called cybersecurity awareness training. So if you're the kind of person that likes to train and teach other people, there are opportunities for you here. You have to learn about this stuff and then you teach it to others. The last are blues. Blues are people, they're like blue-blooded, they're intellectuals, they're like research scientists. And there's one of the things about this field of cybersecurity is that there's just an ocean of information. And the information is all the time growing, because as technology advances, the hackers continue to find new ways to abuse the technology to get what they want. And we need smart people who are researching what they're doing and how to undo it and fight against it, mitigate and prevent it. So if you're a quiet person who likes to, take things apart and figure them out and read about things and summarize your findings, etc. So being a cybersecurity researcher is again a giant opportunity in this field. That's an example of the different roles as I just described them. I love this slide. It's diverse branches of the cybersecurity industry because there's so many different things you could do in this industry. And our course is a foundation for basically any of these fields, whether it's governance or it's threat intelligence or user education, career development. These are frameworks and standards, security operations, security architecture. So there are a real lot of different things you could do with our course. It's not like, one size fits all. Everybody's going to finish the course and then do the same thing. It's not like that. The course will give you a background and the foundation for you to pursue your studies and go in the direction that most suits you, or the one that comes along first. It may be that you thought, I want to be a pen tester, but you get offered a job as a SOC analyst. And anybody with any sense, and particularly the people from the industry, will say, take it, for two reasons. First of all, because getting your first job is hard. So if you get offered one, you should take it. But the second reason is because before you're a pen tester trying to hack into a system, if you were on the opposite team, the pen tester is on the red team, the attack team. The SOC analyst, SOC stands for Security Operations Center, is on the blue team. They're playing defense. They're protecting. They're seeing what the attacks are and how to mitigate and how to respond to them. So if you start on the blue team as a SOC analyst, which can be pretty simple, of basically watching the logs and watching the system and seeing who's coming in and what they're doing, and if there's something suspicious, a red flag, there's software that alerts you to it. You basically hand it on to the person smarter than you, who's worked there longer than you. That's how you really start as a SOC analyst. But it's a great way to start no matter what you're going to end up doing. Anyway, my point is that there's a broad range of opportunities in the field, and you do not need to know now or even in 6 months exactly which field you're going to follow. You should be open to different opportunities while beginning to think about what you might like to do. So these are real pathways from CyberWise onward. What do our graduates do upon completion of the course? And I've written here 6 real jobs that our graduates have. And the first is the one I just explained, a SOC analyst. And I love this graphic because it's SOC analyst. It looks like you're, analyzing SOCs, but of course that's not what it means. A cybersecurity researcher, I mentioned that. It's reading about the new vectors, the new way the attackers, what they're doing, and then communicating that either to clients or to the staff, or it could be even, reverse engineering, whatever. But it's about research. 3, GRC specialist. I mentioned GRC. That's about keeping the rules and making sure the company is, has policies and is keeping the policies and so forth. And I associate that with accounting and auditing. Okay. 4, incident response. I hadn't mentioned that yet. Something bad happens, right? Somebody had a breach and they call you. And so now we gotta take control of the situation. We need to limit the damage. We need to come up with a plan. Like maybe they're asking for ransom. It's ransomware. Should we pay it? Shouldn't we pay it? Do we have a backup of our system, etc.? Can we keep the business running? Do we have to close down our business? So that's like a sort of a high pressure one of incident response. If you like the excitement, you want to work in an ambulance, you're like a first responder of cyber. So that's an exciting one and challenging. And again, we do have people who go right into that after the course. We have a particular Israeli company called TetraSponse, who she's an expert in that field and has taken on some of our people. I've mentioned pen testing as part of being a red teamer who's attacking systems to find their weak points and then to document them. I might even mention there's something called bug bounty. Okay, there's something in the Old West of being a bounty hunter. Today there's something called bug bounty. If you just find a bug in Microsoft, in Windows, you sell it back to Microsoft for real money. You could do really well just by finding bugs in big companies' programs. So, some people spend their days and nights doing that. They're going after bug bounty. So that's sort of like a researcher, sort of like a pen tester, a little bit, combination of that. But that's also a way to earn an honest living. Number 6 is something I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it myself. But we have some really smart. It happens that they're women, and today they're both working as CISOs. They're working as chief information security officers for third-party companies. In other words, they work for a cyber company, and that cyber company provides a smaller company who doesn't have a full-time chief information security officer, but they need someone to be in charge of their cybersecurity. So these women who graduated our course are the virtual CISO of actually some pretty significant Israeli companies. I can mention one, Yad Shtayim is the Israeli used goods, platform. So Yad Shtayim is a client of CyberSafe, and one of our students is her graduates. She is the virtual CISO of Yad Shtayim. So we have a number of people doing that, which is sort of an all-around position where you're managing. You're meeting with the CEO, and you're discussing, are we prepared and what are we doing and are we meeting the standards and so forth. You're also dealing with issues if they come up, the incident response. You maybe are talking to a SOC. Maybe the company doesn't have its own SOC. They're outsourcing their SOC operations, et cetera, et cetera. So a CISO is a position with a lot of responsibility, and it's something that you could find yourself, you're the number 3 man in the company after just, a few years, and you may be earning, really nice earnings based on the amount of responsibility that you're bearing. I am going to share a brief video now about what is hacking, because we used to, call this course ethical hacking, and that is, a term used in this field. And so I want to share with you a brief video about ethical hacking. So here I go, sharing my sound and finding my window. I do not find it. So let me try again. There. Let's see here. Here it is. Okay,
great. Which of these people is most like a hacker? A burglar, a vandal, an inventor, or a spy? The answer completely depends on whom you ask, because the word hacker has taken on all of these meanings and more over the years. But it's the wrong question. It's like asking, is a chisel something you use to break into safes, to deface buildings, or to carve statues? No, the questions we should be asking are, what is hacking and why do people do it? In the broadest possible terms, hacking is creative problem solving that takes advantage of the properties of things in unexpected ways. So when Galileo used curved glass to magnify the stars, that was a hack. Or when NASA engineers saved Apollo 13 with a book, a plastic bag, and a roll of duct tape, that was a hack. Of course, usually when hacking comes up, we're talking about computer hacking, but the idea is the same. Computer hacking is just creative problem solving that takes advantage of the properties of computers and networks in unexpected ways. For example, phone providers used to use tones and beeps to get their phones to communicate with their networks. What they did not expect was that hackers would figure out that those tones could be imitated with toy whistles found in Captain Crunch cereal boxes, thereby bypassing the need to pay for the call. So why do hackers hack? Many are driven by intellectual curiosity. They want to learn how a system works to discover its quirks and hidden secrets. They are like cave explorers who venture into darkness and see what they can find. Steve Wozniak, one of the founders of Apple, started out like this. Like many hackers, his early explorations inspired him to start tinkering and inventing. Other hackers are like the security forces who want to defend their fortresses of information. They find the chinks in the internet's armor, like the Heartbleed bug, and patch them up before they can be used against you. And of course, there are hackers with less than noble intentions. They can be motivated by greed, fame, rebellion, or the desire to hurt others for cheap thrills. These are the hackers that media stories have taught us to fear. Some of them are brilliant minds gone astray, but many of these so-called hackers are just kids who run programs that they don't understand. Others are criminal syndicates that may know more about cheating and robbing people than creative problem solving. There are also hackers who operate in morally gray areas, who might steal information to expose corruption, or violate privacy in the name of national security. They consider what they're doing just and for the greater good, while others see their actions as dishonorable and wrong. But assigning labels of right and wrong or good and bad to hacking is no more productive than pinning those labels to a hammer. It's how and why the hammer is used, to build or to destroy, that matters, and that you must choose for yourself. Hackers, like hammers, are here to stay, whether we like it or not.
Okay, so I thought that was a really good introduction to hacking and hackers. And I mean, it goes without saying, but I will say it that, our course assumes ethics. We're not training anybody to be a criminal. We're training people to defend civilization against the bad people that are trying to destroy it. And so we're all about earning an honest living. Those are the values that we're coming from. And so, I mean, you will learn things in this course that you can use to do crime, but that's not what it's about. It's about, learning these tools in order to be a good person and to defend civilization against those who are trying to destroy it and make our lives difficult. Okay, let's go on. Personality traits for success in cyber. I want to help you succeed in the field, so I'm giving you some pointers. Curiosity. Okay, and that's sort of inborn, but it's good. Let that flow if you have curiosity. Love of learning, strategic thinking, being calm under pressure. I'm an emotional person, so when my computer doesn't work, I get really angry or sad. I might start to cry, That's really not helpful as a cybersecurity person. You don't need to be emotional. You need to be just really rational and just focused on the details of keep trying until it works. One of our teachers said cybersecurity is 90% frustration and 10% success. So a lot of times things don't work and you just got to keep trying until they do work. That's just how technology is. I think that whoever, founded technology should have made sure that it works, but it doesn't always work that way. The master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried. So you gotta keep trying. Soft skills, attention to detail, creative problem solving, clear communication. We're going to talk about that. Throughout the course, you'll be given assignments and, maybe it won't work for you. So if you would send, an email or a direct message via Slack to the teacher, it didn't work. That's not very helpful. Say, this is exactly what I did. This is a screenshot of the error that I got. So that's valuable information. So then the teacher can say, okay, try this or try that. And again, actually, we'll talk about, before you ask the teacher, put it in the Ask channel of our Slack forum. And that way all the students can take a look at it and learn from one another. And the teacher won't be overloaded with questions because we'll have a learning environment where everybody's sharing their questions and their insights. Hard skills, information management, computer science basics, if you have those, and then ultimately specialization is subset. I want to talk more about, I was saying, the good guys and the bad guys, sort of the cops and robbers. One of the things that makes this field exciting in some ways more than computer science is that there's really, there's money at stake, there's crime going on, there's a war, okay? In Israel, there's something going on now called Mabam. Mabam is mem beis mem, milchama bein milchamot. We're in a war between the wars. We're not in like a hot war against Iran, but we're all the time hitting them and they're hitting us back. And a lot of it is in cyber, not all of it is in cyber. So this says how the cyber war between Iran and Israel has intensified. 3 things to know about the not so covert cyber operations between adversaries. There's a cyber war going on in the world, right? Russia and the US and North Korea and China, all these companies have hackers that work for them, that work, in the Ministry of Defense, whatever. And this other sign that I put in Hebrew of Kol Haaretz Chazit and Kol Ha'am Tzava means that we're all on the front. And I actually want to share with you something fascinating that I found personally when I was working for SixSkill using their tool, which is mining information from the darknet. At the time, there was an operation going on. I guess there were still American soldiers in Iraq at that time. It was a number of years back. And part of the thing, or maybe it had to do with ISIS. Anyway, one of the things that the bad guys, the hackers of ISIS, they had something called the Cyber Caliphate. And one of the things they did was they took the credit card details of the soldiers that were there fighting them on the other side and dumped them onto the internet. So it was like a high-tech type of, primitive trick of here you are fighting a real war with guns, but at the same time, you're fighting a cyber war and you're hurting the other side by exposing their personal information. So our world is like that today, where there's all the time, besides, hot war and real wars in Ukraine and Russia, but there's also wars that are in between. They're partially cyber wars, but they're partially explosions and fires that break out and stuff like that. And ultimately, it affects all of us because, ruining the banking system or exposing everybody's credit card information, this destroys civilization. And so there are people, there are hackers and countries and terrorists and so forth who benefit from that stuff. So there's a really intense battle going on in the world between essentially good versus evil. And we, of course, are training you to be soldiers in that fight to defend us all. And meanwhile, before you're even ready to enlist and become a professional in that field, you need to protect yourself just as an amateur by using, strong passwords and being careful. We'll learn in the course, and you could read more about it, of best practices to be safe online. Part of the value I mentioned of the course is that Israel's a world leader in cyber. Okay, I mean, it's unbelievable that 41% of cybersecurity firm investments around the world were invested in Israeli companies. I mean, Israel is a tiny country, and yet 40% of money is going to Israeli companies. Over 1/3 of the world's cyber unicorns, that means they're worth $1 billion, are Israeli. So Israel's really good in this field, and we are, Baruch Hashem, able to take advantage of that. I'm not going to talk much right now about the different types of attacks. You will learn about them in detail in the course and of how to defend against them. I do like always, though, to share this slide about the importance of having good long passwords. If your password is, just 4 numbers, like a PIN code, so you can program a computer, and you're going to learn a little bit of programming called scripting and using Python and so forth, that the computer is going to, guess the various combinations of these 4 digits, right? How many are there? Less than 10,000. So how long does it take a computer to try every combination, which is called brute force, okay? Trying every combination. Well, the answer is less than a second. It's instantaneous. So if your password is easy like that, it only has numbers, or it has only numbers and letters, and it's only 4 or 5 or 6, digits. So that's really a weak password. But if your password has like 12 characters and you have numbers and lowercase and uppercase and a combination and maybe some symbols, so then it would take 334,000 years for the hackers to try every combination of those 12 digits and letters. So that's pretty strong password, okay? And of course, we'll learn you want to avoid dictionary words. Obviously, you don't want to use your name or your address or your phone number. You want to create passwords which are strong, but hard to guess, but easy to remember. I gave an example here of a long password called Kal V'chomer ben beno shel Kal V'chomer. Okay, and I changed the L's to exclamation marks and so on and so forth. But I could remember that password because on my computer or on a piece of paper, I wrote the password is the Yud Gimel Midos, right? It's Kal V'chomer ben beno shel Kal V'chomer. So I'm just giving an example of making sure your passwords are long and difficult to guess, and using symbols and lowercase and uppercase and numbers, and then it makes it difficult for the hackers to break into them. We'll see there's a website where you can see if your password has been exposed online. We're Baruch Hashem, this is the first course that's pretty much in the clear of COVID. I recently traveled to the States to visit my parents. I didn't have to fill out any papers or take any corona tests, so that was, Baruch Hashem, a pleasure. Corona changed our world in some bad ways, but also in some good ways. I actually, I'm a Rosh Kollel. I teach Torah every morning, and my Kollel is now online. We get together once a week. The rest of the days we're online. And because we're online, I have some Talmidim who are not in Beit Shemesh where the Kollel is, but they're in the Golan. They moved away from Beit Shemesh and now live in the Golan, and they can still participate. That never would have happened if we wouldn't have had COVID. So COVID changed our world, and more of our world is online today, and it affected cybersecurity. So we live sort of in the shadow of that in good and bad ways. And this is a sort of a joke. Who led the digital transformation of your company, the CEO, the CTO, or COVID-19? So COVID-19 brought about digital transformation of many things. Another thing I want to mention in my pitch here is the importance of seeing yourself as a member of the industry. And this will maybe take time because you're just starting as a cybersecurity student, but start thinking about yourself as a cybersecurity student and then as a junior professional, etc. And one of the ways you'll do that is by going to websites, newsletters, in LinkedIn and so forth, and ultimately going to conferences where cybersecurity conferences, there's a number in Israel throughout the year, whether you're in LA or Baltimore or New York, wherever you are, there are cybersecurity conferences, and it's very worthwhile to go, to meet the people in the field, to learn the companies in your area, maybe they're hiring, and just to feel the vibe, to be part of what's going on in the industry. So you'll definitely, the more things you do to immerse yourself in the news of the world of cybersecurity, the more you'll become a member of the industry. And that, of course, greatly increases your chances to get your first job. I mentioned already that the market is driven by regulation, whether it's because you have credit card charges on your website, or you're in the medical field, so you have HIPAA laws, or you're a publicly traded company, you do business in Europe where they have GDPR, or you need ISO 27000, etc. All these things are requirements that your company or maybe your client needs to live up to, and you as a cybersecurity professional are going to be making sure that they're complying with these rules. So compliance is a really big deal. For us, it's essentially a pathway to employment, because these companies need to comply with all these rules and regulations, and they don't know how or care or want to deal with it. So they have to hire us in order to take care of their compliance. So for us, it's a pathway to employment. Okay, after all my hakdamos, my introduction and prologues, I'm ready to talk about the course itself. The structure of the course, the syllabus, the letters here are pretty small, but you all have received the academic schedule and the syllabus. It's subject to change a little bit, but you have a pretty good idea. And as we make changes, we could always post it on the Slack channel throughout the year. So the first thing you're expected to attend, we say, I think 80% of classes. If you have a conflict, it's a Sunday, you have a chasana, you're traveling, whatever. So I do appreciate that you let me know in advance that you won't be there or you'll be late, whatever. And, I'm on your side. I'm not trying to make trouble for you. But we're trying to have, a Lebedika environment, a lively environment. So it is worthwhile to be here live, to be able to ask questions and feel what's going on. So that's the Zoom. The Slack channel, you'll participate in that. The Google Classroom is where the assignments are posted and graded and so forth. So those are basically the technical platforms that we're using. You'll be given homework, which you're supposed to do. And if you would just come to class week after week and pay close attention, the year will finish and you will not be ready to work in the field of cybersecurity. A big part of the learning that will happen in this course is learning in the time that you put in on your own, okay? Both the resources that you'll bring in, but just the practice, the tirgul, we call it in Hebrew, the drilling, the doing the stuff, the hands on the keyboard, and you just got to do that. Oh, so I'm glad that Daniel Brightman asked me when we'll receive the link for the Google Classroom, because I really already sent it out. And so if somebody didn't get it, I see that Daniel, I'll mark that down, didn't get it, and I will send you again, whatever. So yeah, anybody who hasn't received the invitation to the Slack channel or the Google Classroom, they could let me know, I guess by email. I'll write now my email in the chat. I'm going to do that right now. So it's done. My email is jaredsomet@gmail.com. So send me an email if you're not in the Slack or the Google Classroom. Okay, so as I said, homework and outside research are a really, really big part of this. And it's not just this, it's not just the course, but it's a part of your career as a cybersecurity professional. There will not be a day in your career that you won't need to learn something new. You will always need to learn new stuff, because again, the technology is changing so fast, and the hackers are using the new technologies to do new bad stuff, and you have to learn about it and protect against it. So don't think that this is like a course like on bookkeeping. You learn how to keep the books, double entry accounting, it's a credit or it's a debit, and then you know it and you do it. No, this field is not like that. It's much more exciting, it's much more challenging, and that's why it pays much better, because it's a constantly evolving field which mandates ongoing learning. So ongoing learning those are words you'll hear a lot in the field, and they couldn't be more true and more important. So you're going to have to do a lot of out of class research, and not only for the class, but for the rest of your life. So I hope that you want to do that. There are tests, multiple choice or short answer, whatever. There are projects, research projects. You research a topic and you present on it. Presenting, your findings is an important professional skill. Whatever job you have in this field or any other, the ability to stand in front of a group of people and share information with them in a way that they're able to absorb it is a very, very valuable skill, and everybody needs to develop it on whatever level they have. Should learn how to make a PowerPoint presentation and to share information with others. That's a part of being a professional. Soft skills training, that means basically I'm mostly going to do that. I give a presentation on how to write your CV, how to use LinkedIn, how to conduct a job interview, how to do a job search, and so forth. That's really, really important to us. Again, if you were just curious about cybersecurity, but you don't really want to work in the field, so you shouldn't really take the course. You should, read articles, or there's some free stuff online. If you're in this course, it's because you want to sort of channel your life in this direction, and you're ready to grow and change and become a cybersecurity professional. So we are here to support and guide you in that process, and ultimately to hold your hand until you're ready for an internship, to work for a company, either low pay or no pay, whatever, for a brief period, and then placement in a company to get your first job in the field. That's what we're about. And so I'm going to talk more now about our covenant. Okay, no problem, to Mr. Ward. Here we go. Okay, this was, I mentioned our covenant. So my graphic here is no magic. Cybersecurity, I mentioned that there is the shortage of people, of professionals, but it's not like a way to make a quick buck, okay? There's people flipping apartments or flipping houses in Lakewood. You buy one and then you sell it a few months later, make a lot of money. This is not that. This is hard work, okay? We're going to teach you to work hard and learn a lot of stuff. And then when you've done that, you can work hard and learn a lot of stuff. And it's that kind of thing. You got to work hard and learn a lot of stuff, and then you could do really well. But it's not a quick buck, okay? There's no magic. And we can open doors, and we will open doors. We will bring you, we will get you opportunities. But I can't make them happen. You got to deliver the goods. We had a guy who was, I'll just say in the nicest language, he was a jerk, okay? So we got him job interviews, but at the job interview, he would act like a jerk. So nobody wanted to hire him. I can't help that, right? He's a jerk. So, being a professional, and I can teach you about that, of how not to be a jerk, but ultimately it's got to be you. And I'm going to teach you how to be your best professional self. Okay, and anybody could do that. It's not like some people can and some people can't. No, everybody, even a person who is a jerk, he can learn how to control himself and behave like a mensch and be a professional. So you're going to learn how to be your best professional self, and that's how you're going to get a job and do well for yourself. But it's not magic, okay? Some people ask on the phone, do you guarantee placement? How can I guarantee placement? I can guarantee that we'll get you job interviews. But how are you going to perform in the job interview? And if they ask you to do something, I can't, say that I know you're going to know it. I could teach it, but you're going to have to know it and know how to do it. So ultimately, the responsibility will be yours. We're going to, as I said, escort you, hold your hand, prepare you, but ultimately, you got to deliver the goods. And so we're really serious about this. We really want you to succeed. Your success is our success. And we market the success of our graduates, right? And that encourages other people to do it. So we really want you to succeed. We're here to help you succeed. So it's not like, oh, you're missing class today, I'm angry, or I'm going to be strict with you. No, I don't care. I just want you to succeed. So we're going to do everything in our power to help you to succeed, to break down the doors and succeed in this field. But there's no magic. Okay, I love this slide, best friends forever. I ask you, who is your best friend? And as I mentioned, we have a husband and wife team right now in the course, the wards. So I'm sure your best friend is your spouse. My best friend is for sure my spouse. Hannah is my wife and best friend. Maybe it's a parent, maybe it's chavrusa, maybe it's none of the above, but I'm going to change all that for you today. Starting as of today or tomorrow or within a week or 2 or 3, your new best friend, get this, is Google. Okay? Because you're going to have a lot of questions, a lot of things you don't know. And the friend that's going to tell you what to do and how to do and the things you don't know is Google. So your new best friend is Google. Okay? And so that's an important rule of thumb. Don't ask somebody else a question until you ask Google. Because why should you sort of disrespect me and my time and ask me something that you could ask Google first? Okay? So if you want to know, ask Google. You didn't find your answer on Google, you have a question about the information you found, now you could ask somebody else. But don't ask somebody else before you've done at least a tiny bit of research using your best friend. Akiva asked a question, will we help guide where we place the focus of time in between classes? And the answer is yes. That's partially what homework assignments are for, to help guide you to where to invest your time. And again, we're here to help guide you, and we want you to succeed. So Google's your new best friend. We have a great program, I love it, called CyberStars. I bring guests, either graduates of the course or people working in industry in the US or the UK or Israel, and they give their insight. They tell their story. We give them like 15 minutes to tell their story, and then we have questions and answers, and that makes it very real. You hear about other people, either who did our course or who one way or the other got into the field and today are really successful. I have a number of them on our website, so I encourage you to, if sometime you're at the computer and you don't have the strength to learn something difficult, so take a few minutes and watch some of those videos of the CyberStars. They're inspiring and enlightening, so that's good. We do have a YouTube channel. I post all the classes, the recordings of the classes on YouTube, and I post them in what's called a private way, so only people who have the link are able to access them. Otherwise, our class would be out there. But our CyberStars are usually public. Not all of them, but a lot of them are public. So we do have a public YouTube channel where you can see our stuff. Another important element of your career in this industry are certifications. People say, will you get a certification at the end of the course? And of course, I will be happy. And we issue a diploma that has our name on it and so forth. But who are we, right? We're a boutique course for the Haredi community. Who really knows us? So the answer is a number of companies know us and respect us, but really to get credibility and name recognition in the international market of cybersecurity, you want to have a recognized certification, and not just one, but many. So there are whole pathways of certification as you go in the field. And again, even people in their 40s and 50s who have been working in this field 20 years continue to get more and more certifications, because that shows that they're keeping up and they're learning more. Because we mentioned ongoing learning is the name of the game. So you could start from the very beginning of this course. There's a pretty simple certification from this company called CompTIA about A+, which is like how your computer works. There's one called Networking Plus and Security Plus and Pen Testing. There are other companies that offer certifications, and it's something we will guide you. We'll guide you on what are valuable certifications, and you're welcome to ask other people what do they recommend in terms of which certification. You don't have to have a certification to get your first job, but it's certainly a valuable asset and something you'd like to have on your CV. So it is something you should begin to give thought to as you begin to get into the course. What certification am I going to study for? Because even during the course, our ambitious students begin to get their certifications, and that helps show companies that they're serious about it and they're pursuing information and knowledge and skills. And so it's a really good thing. Will working on filter devices be an issue? My answer is, it's an issue which can be overcome. So sometimes there'll be stuff, but you'll be able to do it. And again, we recommend filtered internet. That's part of our understanding. We're going to learn about virtualization, sort of how to sort of create a computer within your computer. Let me go on. I'm now at the end of my presentation, near the last slides. I want to tell you a little bit about our faculty. We basically are running 2 courses at the same time. So as we're here in this Zoom classroom, I have another Zoom classroom on my other laptop. Our teacher there is a guy named Omer Kerner. He's a cyber commander from Unit 81 of Tzahal. We have a great guy, a Mexican Jew named Leo Huskevich, and he's a red teamer for Palo Alto. Your teacher is going to be Shimi Hurst. I'll tell you more about him in a minute. Sholem Vanunu has been 25 years in Shmona Matayim, and he recently taught a course for us. Hannah Kay, you saw her a few times in this presentation. She took our course, graduated, and continues to work with us as a content and employment advisor. So we love Hannah Kay. Dvora Erlinger, a number of, I think probably everybody had interaction with her online. She runs our recruiting efforts, which reminds me, recruiting efforts. Our class is still pretty small, around 20 students. So if you know anybody else that might like to still join the course, it's not too late. Obviously, they could see the first one as a recording. You get a little bit of a discount on tuition if you bring a friend. So do give that a drop of thought about bringing more people into the course. Yuda Bassner is an admin guy. There's a word at a university called a bursar, okay? Hannah Ratner, my wife, she's the boss, and I'm called the educational director. So now let me tell you about Shimi Hurst. It's a great young man working for Cyber Convoy in Muncie. Shimi learned in the Mir, he learned in Lakewood. He took a Harvard course in computer science. He has certifications. He's working today as a level 2 SOC analyst at Cyber Convoy. I'm sure he'll tell you more about that. Besides the security analysis, he writes detections for new threats found in the wild. So Shimi, again, he's from our community. He's a great guy. He's a really bright guy. He excelled in the course. And so we brought him onto the faculty to teach at least the very first part of the course this year. In all likelihood, we will have other professors, other instructors that are teaching other parts of the course, but we thought it would be really great for everybody, for Shimi to begin teaching the class. If nobody has any questions this minute, you could always obviously DM me in Slack or send me an email. My wife also is here to serve you. She's mostly creating relationships with the companies. I think it's wise to take a 5-minute break. So I'll put up a timer, and then by me, it'll be 6:10, and then Shimi will begin. Shimi, is that good? In 5 minutes, you'll start?
Of course, sure.
Great. So thank you, everybody. I'm looking forward to a great year of growth professionally and personally. I'm here for you, and we're all here for you to help make this happen and do wonderful things together. Sheyeh bracha v'atzlacha b'kol ma'aseh yadeinu. So we're on break for 5 minutes.